We've dealt with how to sketch a cubic once it's in factored form, but in order to be able to sketch it, we need to be able to get it into that factored form. And the process we're going to go through is a process called polynomial long division. And that sounds a bit scary because people often found long division difficult at primary school. But we are going to review long division, but instead of doing it with numbers, we're going to do it with a polynomial. Now, with all of the polynomials that we're going to deal with, we're going to give you what one of the factors is. So there are ways of determining what at least one factor will be, but in all cases, we're going to give you one of the factors. So in our case, we're going to give you that one of the factors is x minus 1. So in other words, when I factorize this thing, it will look like x minus 1, and then there'll be two other brackets, and we want to know, well, what are these brackets going to be, given that x minus 1 is a factor. So the way that we're going to solve this is we're going to end up dividing our polynomial by the known factor. So in this case, it is x minus 1. And what we're going to do is we're going to divide term by term. So we're just going to think about the first term here and the first term of our divisor. X cubed divided by x. X cubed divided by x, that's going to be x squared. So in the first term in our result from this will be an x squared. Now notice I'm trying to line everything up here. So I'm keeping all the x cubes in a column. The x squareds are going to line up, the x's and the constant term are going to line up. Now with long division, we need to multiply this number by the divisor, and we're going to subtract that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this by each term here, and I'm going to write the result in this line underneath. So I'm going to go x squared times x, that's x cubed. That should always be the same as the term above because of the way I determined this was by dividing, and so then multiplying is going to be the opposite. Then I'm going to go x squared times minus 1 is minus x squared. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract these two polynomials. So term by term I'm going to subtract. X cubed minus x squared is 0. So these two terms are going to cancel nicely. I'm going to be very careful here. I'm subtracting a minus, so I'm going to get 6x squared minus x squared. That's going to be positive 7x squared. Nothing here, so 5x minus 0 is still 5x. Minus 12 minus 0 is still minus 12. And I'm now going to repeat this process with this simpler polynomial. So like we did before, 7x squared divided by x, that's going to be plus, I'm trying to use the same color, plus 7x. And then I multiply out. 7x times x is 7x squared. 7x times minus 1 is minus 7x. Once again, subtract. 7x squared minus 7x squared is 0. They cancel. 5x minus 7x is positive 12x. And minus 12 minus 0 is minus 12. So, one last step to go. Take this first term, divide by x again. We're repeating the process once more. 12x divided by x is positive 12. 12 times x is 12x. 12 times minus 1 is minus 12. I should have written those in as I went. And on this last step, these two should line up exactly. So they will cancel when I do my subtraction. They will cancel when I do my subtraction, and I will get 0. So that 0 tells me that this divides perfectly, that my assumption that this was a factor was true, because I got a remainder of 0. It divided perfectly. If you don't get 0 there, it means you've made a mistake somewhere along the way. So what this means is that this polynomial can be written as x minus 1 times this thing here. Now, we're not in factors form yet, but we're a step closer. So from this point on, we just treat this quadratic factor here as we normally would with any quadratic, and we need to factorize it. So we're going to look at the final term, the constant term, we're looking for two numbers that multiply to give 12, and we're going to look at the coefficient of x. We need two numbers that add to give 7. And those two numbers are going to be positive 3 and positive 4. So I'm going to rewrite this thing. Finally, I can split this quadratic up into x plus 3 and x plus 4. And from that step, we could go through the process we did before and sketch this cubic.